Welcome back. You didn't have to wait that long for a new episode of our podcast, Kempire Radio, on your favorite podcast platform. And of course, the visual version here on YouTube. And you probably should know, it's not only on YouTube, it's also on the Kempire Radio Facebook. So be sure to follow us there if you haven't already. So let's get into this. We have a lot to talk about. Lizzo, child. Oh my. Oh, Nene. But also, boo. I'm reflecting what I see in the comment section. There are mixed feelings on this new Nene Leakes interview. So we have to talk a little bit more expansively, especially now that I've been a little bit away from it the last couple of days. I have new thoughts and, of course, new revelations that are coming out, especially when Nene denies that she ever called Andy Cohen a racist. We got to talk about that. We also got to talk about Monica. Yeah, Monica the singer, or as we call her in the streets, Goonica. Yeah, we got to talk about Monica, and we just got to catch up this week. There are a few different things that I want to catch up on. You know, here on the Kempire Radio podcast is where you get a different experience and a conversation that we don't have on other platforms. So let's get into this. All right. Goonica. Let's just start with Goonica. So Monica was making headlines last week, I think it was, or the week before, because she was literally on stage and stopped her performance to address a man that was physically being aggressive with a female. So there was actual video footage. I don't know if you've seen this on the blogs or anything like that, or on the internet. Then you may have seen that Monica literally jumped off the stage. Goonica, come on. Yes. How you doing? No, I didn't mean to press that one. Yes, Goonica. You know why they call her Goonica, right? Because some of you might not even be like, why are you calling her Goonica? Because Monica is about that life. She's a card-carrying, pistol-whipping, true Southern girl. And I love that for her. I do. Monica, when are we getting this album, though? Monica's been working on this chapter 48, no, not even 48, chapter 52 at this point, album. And then she said she was working on a gospel album. We are waiting on the album. Didn't she just release a new single too? But look, she's doing it on her own. She doesn't have a major label behind her like she did years ago. So she's doing it on her own. So, but she's still performing. She's still out there performing. Is she still chasing after that man that's in jail? Didn't Kim Kardashian just come out talking about justice for him? And I know Monica had been working with Kim Kardashian about getting him freed. What's his name? Master P's brother. You guys will remember. You will look. I don't know anything that much about that particular case. If it was unjust, he's serving a life sentence. He's serving a life sentence. Corey, right? What's his name? Let me hold on. Let me Google schmoogle this. Okay, you know how to Google schmoogle. It's C Murder. Well, not with that name. Not with that name. But his real name is Corey Miller, and of course, that is Master P's brother. So she's been working on trying to get him freed. And I know recently I saw a headline where Kim Kardashian was talking about getting him freed. Look, is it really Kim Kardashian doing the work in order to get him freed, or is she just using her celebrity to get some of these folks free? I don't know. I mean, if she can bring attention just off of her celebrity, I mean, that's more than some other people that are just using their celebrity for their own ill-gotten gain. We'll talk about Lizzo. Oh, sorry, Lizzo. Come on. I'm not going to bash Lizzo. I'm not trying to bash Lizzo. We're going to lay out all the information because there's a lot of information. We're going to lay out all the information and then we will judge. I don't know. Anyway, so Goonica is the real shero this week. So we're just going to say she's our shero this week, Goonica, Monica. Is she really like dating Corey Miller, C Murder? I mean, she always said that she rides for him and that she goes to visit him. I don't know. So, I mean, the streets have been talking, but I haven't really seen her mention him lately. So I don't know. But good for Monica. Monica, where's the new album? Speaking of new albums, Brandy, it's been 3 years since B7 was released. I think it's time for a new album. Well, since then, Brandy's been busy. Brandy has been filming stuff. She's filmed like a movie. She also filmed something for Disney Plus. And she was also, she signed a new record deal with Motown. So I know a new album is looming. I just haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything in regards to her being in the studio or what's coming. I've heard rumors before, because of, I mean, I have some info that I just can't mention yet, y'all. I can't mention yet, but I haven't heard her working on a follow-up to B7. I haven't heard that, but I'm looking forward to it. Shout out to B7. B7 wasn't my favorite Brandy album, but it was definitely a good album. It's not my favorite, but it was definitely a good album. Sidebar. Shout out to our friends over at We Sound Crazy Podcast. Did you hear their interview with Rodney Jerkins, Darkchild Jerkins? First of all, Rodney, you need to get back to putting Darkchild on the records that you produce, because I didn't even realize some of the records that Rodney Jerkins has out now. For those that don't know who Rodney Jerkins, Say My Name, all of Brandy's Full Moon and Never Say Never. Look, there are so many songs, so many different songs we can go through in regards to Darkchild. And shout out to LaShawn Daniels. May he rest in peace. You know, we had an interview with LaShawn Daniels, who's worked with Rodney Jerkins for years. Some of your favorite songs, like He Wasn't Man Enough by Tony Brack. All of that is the chemistry between Rodney Jerkins, LaShawn Daniels. May he rest in peace. For those that didn't hear my interview with him years ago, be sure to check that out. And a lot of people, when he passed away, were citing that interview because he didn't really do a lot of interviews. And we really extensively talked about his catalog in that interview. But I've also interviewed Rodney Jerkins when Rodney Jerkins had that girl group. I forgot the name of the girl group. But that girl group had Victoria Monet. So that's how I know Victoria Monet. Victoria Monet has gone on to be a big songwriter, writing for people like Ariana Grande. But now she's getting her big moment as an artist, a solo artist. It's so crazy to see people that were in a girl group and just, sometimes nothing happens. But there are a lot of people that are famous now that were in girl groups. I mean, outside of Beyonce, Pink was in a girl group. Missy Elliott was in a girl group. And it's so funny to see how far they come, and just because they keep pursuing their career. So when they launched this girl group, when Rodney Jerkins launched this girl group, I interviewed them, and he happened to come in during the interview. So I interviewed Rodney then too. So Rodney's always good talk. And he talked about how, in regards to Brandy, that Brandy's team has reached out to him before about working together again. And he said that he's really focused on the next new thing. So that's part of the reason. So a lot of people thought it was both of them that didn't want to work with each other. So it looks like maybe Brandy wants to work with him again. They, without a doubt, have chemistry that is undeniable. And it would be amazing for them to come back together. You may recall their last project was the Human Project. But if you watch the reality show, Rodney said, he wasn't able to work on that project the way that they are used to working or the way that he wanted to work. So word on the street, there was some conflict in regards to that. I hope that they do get back together and make some magic together. I would love it if this next project that Brandy's working on is with him. He just has a way. He really is a musical genius. I don't think people realize that Rodney Jerkins was creating these hits and he was literally a teenager. He is a musical genius. Like, he was at a very young age creating these hits for legends. He's worked with Michael Jackson. He's worked with Whitney Houston. He told a lot of these great stories on the We Sound Crazy podcast. So if you like music history or documentary conversation, that is an episode worth listening to. All right. Anyways, so yeah, I say all that to say I'm looking forward to a new Monica album, looking forward to a new Brandy album. Speaking of music, I am loving Tori Kelly's new album. It's not an album, it's an EP. So it's only like a few songs, but I've been playing them out like it's a full album. But you may recall Tori Kelly was recently hospitalized for blood clots. I don't know if they confirmed if there were any blood clots around her heart, but she definitely had some around her lungs, and I forgot where else she had them. But it was very serious. It was like touch and go, allegedly. And now she's home, so I'm happy about that. And she put out a message to her fans. I love Tori Kelly. I remember Tori Kelly before Tori Kelly was a huge artist. She was just a YouTuber covering songs, and I was just like, this girl is incredible. Some people don't even know that Tori Kelly, she has, I think her father's like Puerto Rican and Jamaican, and her mom is like Irish. So that's why she, looks the way she looks. But she's so talented, and I was just really concerned because she's so young to having those health things. And I'm sure she will do an interview, probably talking about what happened. So hopefully all is better for her. I know right now she's resting. She was supposed to be out promoting this project. So I will help her promote. If you haven't heard Tori Kelly's new album, our new EP, is now available, self-titled, called Tori. It's actually really, really good. Speaking of which, Rodney, Jerkins, and Timbaland helped produce one of the cuts on the project. Because I'm that person. I love just going through. I mean, we don't have CDs anymore, so I can't go through the like the credits anymore. Like I'm used to. Like I just love the credits. Where was this recorded? Who engineered this? Who produced this? Who wrote this? So now on like Apple Music, you can see who wrote stuff, but you don't really be able to get all the full details. I'm sure you can Google schmoogle and get the full details of who did what. I kind of miss that. We need to work on that. Apple and Spotify, so I can know those details, because I like those details, and I feel like the young songwriters and singers that are coming up don't have that. They don't have that, and they don't know who's writing and producing these songs unless they mention it on a song. That's why I think Rodney needs to get back to saying Doctor. Just saying. Anyways, moving on. Have you guys seen the Barbie movie or the Oppenheimer movie? You know, where they had that whole little thing where you could see both Barbie and Oppenheimer. That's the full day at the theater. No, thank you. I always say this, if you've been listening for a while, I only go to the movie theater unless one of my friends are like, oh, let's go to the movie theater. It's never, let me go. There was a period way before the pandemic where I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the movie theater on Saturday. I'm going to go by myself. I'm going to see something. And that was before movie theaters really started doing it up, meaning like they had the big chairs and you can order food. That's how long ago I went to the movie theaters. But the last time I went to the movie theaters was for The Little Mermaid. I have not seen the Barbie movie. I haven't really heard anyone talk specifically about what is so great about the Barbie movie, but I've heard great things. And now, at the time of this recording, they are almost at 1 billion worldwide in sales. That is impressive. But I hear good things about it. I look forward to watching. I might go watch it once sort of the hype dies down, which I think is going to take a couple of weeks. At this point, this is what, its second weekend? No, this is its third weekend. I will probably wait till the fourth or fifth weekend and go see it. And let me tell you something. When Vision Pro, you know, the Apple virtual reality or mixed reality glasses comes out, once I get my hands on one of those, I am never going back to the movie theater because you could literally have the movie theater experience within those glasses. That's one of the little perks. I mean, for $3,500. I mean, look, it is what it is. Let's move on. Cardi B. So Cardi B was performing in Las Vegas this week at this club. And what went viral, and shout out to all of you that follow me on TikTok, because you really helped one of my videos covering, the initial video covering the Cardi B throwing her mic at an audience member after they splashed her with water. That went viral. It went 1.4 million views. I was like, damn, you just never know. Like, I don't get caught up in views and things like that. Yes, they're important because engagement and all that, it's a whole business. But I don't get caught up in views, because if you do, I feel like that energy pulls away from you actually having these moments. So a lot of times I'm just like, on to the next story. So I had went back into my TikTok and I was like, what? I don't read the comments though, because when you have a video that goes viral with 1.4 billion views, the comments are probably ridiculous. Ridiculous. So I don't even get caught up in the comments. All right. But more came out in regards to that story. It wasn't so cut and dry as this woman just was splashing Cardi B. Apparently, the audience were splashing, trying to cool off Cardi B, but they were supposed to be splashing her vajayjay area. But apparently, that was a little bit earlier on in the show. And then this woman splashed Cardi B and went in Cardi B's face. Cardi B did not hesitate. It splashed and mic went whoosh. And apparently, the mic ricocheted and hit someone else. Only come to find out that someone filed a police report for battery. But at the time of this recording, now we hear that Cardi B will not be facing any charges. Yay. Come on. I think, look, when you see there was multiple footage, and then there was another footage where you see the woman saying, oh my God, I'm sorry. I know some of you are like, yeah, right. She wanted to splash Cardi B. You didn't believe her. I believed her. What I sensed from her reaction was she was getting excited and she splashed Cardi, and she didn't mean to split. Maybe her strength was a lot stronger than she thought. Just saying. Well, now the microphone is on eBay. Come on. I don't know what it is at this point. Maybe I can, let me look it up. Like we're doing this live, y'all. Maybe I can look it up because the last time I checked in regards to this, oh, here it is. Hold on. Let me see. Oh my goodness. It's almost $100,000 for this mic. And you have at least till Tuesday. At the time of this recording, the visual version of this, it will probably be over and sold. But the owner of the company, The Wave, that provided the mics and, audio equipment for this performance, well, he was able to get the mic. The mic still works according to him. He proves his point. Like, I provide all the mics for this particular location and blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing. I know a lot of you are like, oh, that's a lot of money. He's going to donate it to 2 different charities. Come on. He really didn't have to. But I love that he is. And you know what? He's going to be blessed. He's going to be blessed. So he lists all, the information in regards to the mic. The thump that was heard around the world. Look, the thump that was heard around the world. Yeah. Well, he's it's nearly $100,000, and he's giving it away to 2 charities. One of the charities is Las Vegas charity called Friendship Circles Las Vegas. The Friendship Circle is an organization that has teens and young adults volunteers helping children, teens, and other young adults with special needs. The other charity, which I'm very familiar with, is the Wounded Warrior Project. The Wounded Warrior Project helps to bring independence back to our most severely wounded veterans. And I love our veterans, so I love this. So even if you just want to make a donation because the money's going to a good cause, I'll post the link in the podcast episode so that you guys can donate. I think this is fantastic. He didn't have to. And he's doing it. And I'm glad that Cardi's not going to be facing charges. A lot of you love to. Here's the thing. And I know some of you out there, probably, especially in our community, the Nicki fans, the Cardi fans, it's always some sort of battle on social media between them. I like Nicki and I like Cardi. And I like them probably for different reasons at different times. Sidebar, Nicki Minaj, she confirmed that her new album's coming out in November. And a lot of people are like, why are you announcing this so early? Well, she just posted a tweet a couple of days ago, or maybe a few days ago, talking about the album. She's like, oh my gosh, guys, this album is the best ever. It's a masterpiece. And I was just like, Nicki, come on. Like, don't hype up the album. Let us say it for you. Even though I feel like Nicki is an incredible artist, I actually like the Queen Project. I thought the Queen Project was actually good, really good, solid. But the way she's hyping up this album, and I don't know. I haven't listened to that damn Barbie song with her and Ice Spice. And I don't know why, because I don't really love it, but I don't hate it either. And it's very short. Shout out to Aqua. Aqua with this song, I'm a Barbie girl. They're having a little resurgence right now because of this whole, collaboration and movie. Good for everyone involved. I'm looking forward to the Nicki album. Cardi, where is this album? I'm never one to pressure people to put out albums, but Cardi's only had 1 album. Can you believe that? Yeah, she's done multiple singles and she's been featured on other tracks. And I think Cardi's sort of stuck in her head because even her first album, she was stuck in her head and she didn't want to release that. So I know Cardi has a lot of music and she just hasn't put it out. Cardi, just put it out. They're going to say what they're going to say regardless. Don't listen to them. Just put out that album. And then after that, put out another album. Put out 2 albums. Put out a collab album. Something. How do you guys feel about Ice Spice? I like Ice Spice's sound. I don't know if I like her music like that. I only heard a few songs. I don't like her performances. And I know a lot of you be dragging her in the comment section about her performances because it's very dry. It's very lackluster. And for me, especially in this day and age, for an artist, to me, you got to have it all. You can't just be a good rapper. You got to be able to perform. Who's the best female performer that's a rapper? That's a good performer. Cardi's really good as a performer. She actually really impresses me as a performer. Sweetie said she's going to release her version of the Barbie song. Originally, she was supposed to be on that Barbie song. And then it sounded as if maybe they decided to go with Ice Spice, like Nicki and Ice Spice versus her song. But she says she's still going to release that out. I wouldn't say Sweetie's a great live performer. She's not bad, but I'm trying to think Megan Thee Stallion. Megan, when are we getting a new album? I mean, she's put out a bunch of albums. I know she's in the middle of legal stuff with her label and things like that. And she's doing a lot of influencer stuff on social media. She's very funny. But Megan Thee Stallion's a great performer, but she's also a really great rapper too. I like Megan Thee Stallion. And she got a real body. Look, no shade to the ones that paid for their body. Good for you. But she's built like a stallion. Go ahead, Megan. I'm happy you're living your best life. I wonder how Tori's doing. Not good from what I hear. Karma. Let's talk about this Nene Leakes interview. So Nene Leakes had a 2-part interview with Carlos King, former producer of the Real Housewives of Atlanta and other Real Housewives. He's the current producer of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. You know the resume, okay? He says he's the king of reality. He can be the king of reality. However, let's be honest. When you think about who's producing reality, when you really think about it, and you know how I feel about Andy Cohen, that is the real king of reality. Because Carlos, you worked for him and his show. I get it. You were on the ground producing really amazing moments on Real Housewives of Atlanta, but very much like how Nene likes to take credit for the success of Atlanta. But even Nene will say it was an ensemble thing. I believe the magic of Atlanta wasn't just Nene. She was an important ingredient. Like, certain meals, if you don't add that certain ingredient, it's just not going to taste the same.
My God, today.
Lady.
That's Nene. But Carlos, and I get you were on the ground, you were in there, rallying the girls. You weren't the only producer. You weren't the only reason why Real Housewives of Atlanta was successful. You like to paint that narrative. But now I think about it, you like to call yourself the king of reality TV. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you can say that just by saying it. I call myself the king of pop culture. All right, girl. But I am. No, come on. But if we had to really think about it, the king of reality TV is Andy Cohen. Just saying. Who's the queen of reality TV? Mona Scott Young? Look, who? You guys let me know. I just had that thought because, sometimes people just say things and I think to myself, it's like, Carlos, you're really not the king. And I know a lot of you keep saying,
Carlos, focus on your own family shows.
I don't say that. I feel like he could do it. It's a free country. You could do whatever you want. You could talk about whatever you want. But here's where I find a problem with it. And I've said this before. Stop talking about the shows and criticizing the shows and saying how the shows are not successful when your shows are not that successful either. Yes, we get it. When you talk about numbers in the cable world, OWN is not available on certain networks. Even if it was, I think even if OWN was available on cable the same way that Bravo was, I believe that Love and Marriage Huntsville would not be that great. It would still not compare. Just saying. And I get it. Love and Marriage Huntsville did have a lot of really great moments, but now a lot of people have tuned it out because it's become so forced and pre-produced. Detroit, not loving. DC, not really missing. I know some of you are like, where's DC? I'm not really missing it. Bell Collective, I have like a love-hate relationship with Bell Collective. But anyways, so Carlos is riding high off the success of his new interview with Nene Leakes. And I think he did a good job because he let Nene control the interview, which some of you will be like, as an interviewer, as someone that has interviewed people, hundreds of people, including Carlos King, you never let the interviewee control an interview. But I think for us and our ears, it was better. I'm just saying. I preferred it. It was an interesting interview. It was entertaining, and no one's ever going to take away that Nene is an icon in reality TV, in the reality TV space, in the entertainment space. However, she took no accountability. She rewrote some history in what she was saying. Although there was a lot of truth in her opinion and her thoughts, yes. And her thoughts on Kandi, her thoughts on Cynthia, her thoughts on Kenya. Doesn't make it fact. And I do believe that Bravo tried to make Kandi sort of like the new center focus. And do I think that Kandi is boring? I don't know if y'all also like to rewrite history in regards to Kandi. Kandi, I can see she needs some pushing because that's a Taurus. We need pushing. I'm not going to lie. Tauruses need pushing in order to really, sometimes to show up. But when we show up, we show out. Just saying. But the way she dogged Candy out, which I found to be interesting, and a lot of you like, oh, and I posted this on Twitter, you need to watch the whole interview. I watched that interview probably more times than you did because I'm a journalist and I researched. Because I said that I found it interesting that both Nene and Carlos, maybe not in this interview, but throughout time, have not seen it for Candy, but still both listed her as a part of their dream cast. Both of them. But Nene does see what Candy can do because she can see what Candy can bring in regards to when she's activated. But Nene also said that she's not watching the show. She only sees clips. But she had some very strong opinions for someone that doesn't watch the show. Do you think that Nene watches the show? I don't believe Nene 100%. I think sometimes people take Nene at her word. And when you kind of see the facts of the situation, there's so many moments in this interview where she states something and then you can disprove it. And I said this during our recap of this interview. I said, Nene can say whatever she wants, especially about the network, because she knows that they're not going to say anything. They're not going to refute it. They're not, because it's just not, it's not something that they do. They are suits. They're not getting into the nitty gritty of fighting with Nene Leakes on social media. But I'm sure all it would take is for one of them to come out and be like, this is what it really is. So she talks about her last season and how she was only offered a guarantee of 6 episodes. And she was just like, I can't believe that you guys are offering me this. It also means less money for her. So she probably just like, what's happening? But a lot of you said, Nene, you were no longer fun towards the end of the season. Yes, the ratings were doing well, but you were no longer fun to watch. You weren't the fun Nene. You were really smelling yourself. You had changed. I do think that Nene is in a different space. She definitely seemed a little bit lighter, but like I said, still not taking accountability, still rewriting history. I did find it interesting, and this is where the hypocritical part of Nene comes in. When you're talking about these 6 episodes and they're telling you that you're unhappy, and she's like, I'm not unhappy. So this lawsuit where you're talking about being unhappy with discrimination, you were happy? This is where the hypocrisy comes in regards to what she's saying. And a lot of you have said this too. Nene, if you had such an issue with the network, why do you keep saying that you're open to going back? You think that I would want to go back to a place that I felt that were discriminatory towards me? Even for the fans? No. What I would do, I would create another platform for myself, especially in this day and age. When I was coming up as a singer and a songwriter, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media. So it was so much harder to put yourself out there. But now in this day and age of social media and so many streaming platforms, you could do it yourself. And that is what people that aren't fans of Nene are saying. They're saying, Nene, you could have just built your own. You could have built your own. Very much like, and look, a credit to Carlos, when he left, allegedly fired from Bravo, he went and started his own production company and started developing his own things. So kudos to Carlos for that. That is what you need to do, Nene. You've done none of that since then. And you can. She was talking about, I would love to do a podcast, but every time I want to do a podcast or a talk show, I get the door closed on me. And I always tell you guys, especially here on the podcast, like anyone can start a podcast today and release one today. But she feels so self-entitled. And this is where people come on, a lot of the housewives, specifically Nene, there's only always one housewife always getting spinoffs. Here's the thing, Nene, very much like this podcast that I'm talking about, you talked about in this interview, you are waiting for someone to do it for you. You're waiting for someone to give it to you. That's not how it works, especially if you're trying to be a producer of a reality show or a show. No, you're supposed to come up with a business plan and present this to those executives, the same executives that you have their direct line to. So unlike other people that would love to have a meeting with them, you have their direct phone number and be like, I'd like to pitch an idea to you. But you want, and this is why I had to kind of go back and listen and unfold some of what she was saying. You want someone just to give you a podcast. And should someone just give her a podcast? Yes, because she's entertaining, she's funny. But there's also no initiative coming from Nene when it comes to these things. A talk show is a little bit different, but you can also start a talk show on YouTube if you wanted to, like ours. But I don't think that she would be good at a talk show. Y'all remember that awkward video that she was going to do the read session? The reads.
Hi, it's your girl, Nene Leakes, and I know you've heard me talking about the read session, honey. Yes. Well, I found my readers, honey, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're going to be talking about all the hot topics, honey. We are a live reading blog, okay? Welcome to the read session. I thought a high bitch said something. No one knew you until you knew me.
She was going to do the read session. And she had this awkward the reading from the book. I was like, no. Doesn't mean that she couldn't do it in the future. All it takes is a little bit of prep and, experience and doing it often enough. If you look at some of my old stuff too, even after I had done Kempire Radio for a long time and then getting back into it the last, 3 years, and then even in the beginning, I was still finding my way, figuring out how I should present or getting comfortable with doing it. Same comes with like interviewing people and things like that as well. So Nene, you could have a podcast today if you wanted one. All right. And then once you've proven yourself, once they see your numbers, I'm sure plenty of podcast platforms, production companies will be like, we want to produce your show. She could be literally making money from that. But she says she's not hurting. She says she's rich. I mean, the word on the street. Okay. Yeah. So the other thing that a lot of people are talking about in regards to this Nene Leakes interview, in the comment section, someone talked about like, why would they hire you back why would Andy even want to have a conversation with you after you called him racist? So she was in the comment section, like, when did I call him racist? Show me where I called him racist. Well, thank God for the internet. Thank God for the internet, because the internet never fails, because you guys found the tweet. You found the tweet where she did say it. And I have the tweet right here in front of me. And it's no longer on her profile. I did go back to her Twitter account to go find the tweet. She's deleted it. But you can't delete what people have screen capped, Nene. So she tweeted this back on September 27, 2020. She said, I will always eat and eat good. Believe that. I have always believed in multiple streams of income, so the leaks are good. You old cocaine head and you old racist. No one knew you until you knew me. Remember, I'm an icon. Don't forget. So people were citing that as a reminder, like, yes, you did. You called him a cocaine head and you called him a racist. And then someone said in the super chat when we were recapping the interview saying, well, it's also in the lawsuit. And they gave us the actual section that it was in. So if you missed our recap of part 2, be sure to check that out. So she did, allegedly, I'll say, call him a racist. And even if she didn't say it outright, she alluded to it. So I could see, would you want to be friends with someone that called you a racist on a public platform? And God only knows what his comment section looks like because of what she said about him. And if you rewind the tape of when they decided to make that public announcement that she was no longer coming back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, he literally tweeted like, RHOA is the house that Nene built. It was very amicable until it wasn't. And I think that's where people were just like, what is going on here? What happened? Who said that? Did the things that she posts in her discriminate lawsuit have factual information in there? Yeah, it did. I think a lot of people, and we said this before, are still questioning Nene's intentions, where you knew all this stuff was happening, and even when you had influence and power, you did nothing, allegedly. But there were moments where she admitted that Claudia Jordan read her for filth. She was a really good proponent on the show in Puerto Rico or Puerto Rico. She talks about that, and Claudia reacted to it on Fox Soul. She was like, oh, well, she threw some shade, but she gave me credit for that. And then I rewatched that, and I was like, they really missed out on having maybe another iconic season by bringing Claudia back. But I believe Claudia was offered to come back, but they were only offering her a friend of. and she wanted the full-time check. I don't blame her. But at the time, she wasn't a housewife. I don't know if she was even dating anyone. So I liked Claudia on that season, but at this point, bringing Claudia back, it's like, what's the point? Like, it's such a different cast. They should have did it when they had the opportunity. But Nene said, and Carlos confirmed it, that when she read Nene in Puerto Rico, they were like, you guys hired the wrong one. Y'all should have hired Claudia because they hired Demetria. Remember? Yeah. So that was the Nene interview. If you want to hear more of my thoughts and the thoughts of our community, we recap part 1 and part 2 on the Kempire YouTube channel. So be sure to check it out and let me know your thoughts. I know the Nene stands are out. The Nene haters are out. Over here, I can see both sides. I can see Nene being an icon, but at the same time, I can see Nene being hypocritical and taking no accountability. And a lot of you are fighting on Kim Kardashian's behalf.
Hell no.
Because she's like, I should be bigger than Kim Kardashian. And to be honest with you, she should. She's a lot funnier and more interesting than Kim. But that's the difference between people that foster and, cultivate their relationships behind the scenes. I really want to know what happened with her and Ryan Murphy, because we know Ryan Murphy is legendary for celebrating and embracing the people that he works with. And he continues to use them over and over again. He stopped using Nene. And I was just like, oh. But he would never come out and say anything. He would never. And she's like, oh, yeah, everything with us is good. I don't know. Actions speak louder than words. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Lizzo discrimination, racial bias, hostile work environment lawsuit. So the world was rocked this week when the Lizzo lawsuit was made public from former 3 dancers that worked with her on her reality show and tour. So I'm not going to go through all of the nitty gritty, because if you followed me on the Kempire channel, then you already are fully up to date if you've been reading this online. But I did want to mention, so Crystal Williams, Ariana Davis, and Noel Rodriguez are the individuals suing Lizzo and her production company, Big Girl Big Touring, Inc., a Delaware corporation. Melissa Jefferson, aka is also known as Lizzo, as an individual, and Shirlene Quigley, who is the dance captain. All right. So they said that they're suing for the FEHA, hostile work environment, sexual harassment, all plaintiffs against all defendants. FEHA, failure to prevent and or remedy hostile work environment, sexual harassment, all plaintiffs against all defendants. And religious harassment, all plaintiffs against defendants Shirlene Quigley and Big Girl Big Touring. Failure to prevent and or remedy religious harassment. This is more towards, they're saying all the plaintiffs against all defendants, but that's really towards Shirlene Quigley. They said racial harassment, which a lot of people are not talking about. They're saying that the management team showed preferential treatment to the white, dancers over the women of color dancers. They said also disability discrimination and intentional interference with prospective economic advantage. Also, there's some other really shocking claims in here: assault and false imprisonment. They have a demand for jury trial, according to this court document. Okay. So there are a few different moments that are listed as examples of the toxic work environment that Lizzo and her team created, allegedly. There was an incident in Amsterdam where the ladies accused Lizzo of forcing them to touch this naked performer. There was an incident where they said that Lizzo got almost physically aggressive and had to be held back. So some of the other things that are laid out in this lawsuit that I didn't get to mention in detail on our other coverage, they said in or about May 2021, Ms. Rodriguez, who was one of the plaintiffs, was hired by Lizzo and this touring company. Initially, she was brought on to perform in Lizzo's Rumors music video, but she remained with Lizzo and is a part of the performance group supporting Lizzo in her live concerts as well. While working with the Rumors music video, Miss Rodriguez was approached with another job opportunity that would have run concurrently to rehearsals for Lizzo's live shows and tours. After rehearsal for Lizzo's live shows were postponed, Ms. Rodriguez approached Lizzo's tour manager, Carolina Gilata, hereafter referred to as Miss Guliata, about possibly taking on this one-day job opportunity. Miss Gulata responded, "Do you want the job or not?" implying that if Ms. Rodriguez wanted to keep her position as a tour dancer, she could not take any other positions. On or about July 28, 2021, Ms. Rodriguez was officially booked by Lizzo and the touring company to perform with Lizzo at several musical festivals. In or about August of 2021, filming for Watch Out for the Big Girl began. During filming for the show, Miss Davis and Miss Williams were first introduced to defendant Shirlene Quigley. All right. One of the judges and instructors on the show and captain of Lizzo's dance team. Miss Quigley was not only vocal about her religious beliefs, but took every opportunity to proselytize there we go, to any and all in her presence, regardless of the protestations. During filming of Watch Out for the Big Girl, Miss Quigley took particular interest in Miss Davis and regularly preached at Miss Davis about what Miss Quigley believed to be a shared Christian identity. So this is some of what Miss Shirlene Quigley is being accused of. Also, during filming, Miss Quigley discovered that Miss Davis was a virgin, and Miss Davis's virginity became a topic of extreme importance to Miss Quigley. In the months to follow, Miss Quigley would routinely bring up Miss Davis's virginity in conversations with Miss Davis. Miss Quigley even mentioned Miss Davis's virginity in interviews she participated in and later posted to social media, broadcasting an intensely personal detail about Miss Davis to the world. Miss Davis never gave Miss Quigley permission to share this private detail about Miss Davis's life. So here's another thing that hasn't been mentioned in some of the coverage of this story. So it said, as one of the competitions for Watch Out for the Big Girls, contestants were told that they would be required to participate in a nude photo shoot. While some contestants were not bothered by this, the prospect of a nude photo shoot made other contestants severely uncomfortable. Miss Davis was particularly distressed by this challenge. She was entirely uncomfortable being photographed nude for anyone with access to Amazon Prime Video to see. As this challenge was a part of the competition, Miss Davis believed poor performance or outright refusal would have resulted in Miss Davis being sent home from the show and no longer being considered for a spot on the dance team. While Miss Davis did not want to be photographed nude, she also dreaded the thought of not earning a spot performing on tour with Lizzo. They continue to say the dilemma caused Miss Davis anxiety to flare, resulting in extreme distress. Miss Davis broke down in tears on set while struggling to choose between a once-in-a-lifetime career opportunity and putting her body on display against her will. Ultimately, Miss Davis was allowed to participate in the photo shoot, partially clothed in a nude bra and underwear. However, this experience foreshadowed the sexually charged and uncomfortable environment Lizzo's employees would be forced to endure. Here's the interesting part in regards to the dance captain, Shirlene Quigley. So they said that in part 21 here, it says, in or about April of 2022, plaintiffs began rehearsing in preparation for Lizzo's The Special Tour. During this time, plaintiffs worked closely with Miss Quigley as she's the captain of the dance cast. Miss Quigley continued to preach at everyone in her surroundings, especially about her beliefs regarding Christianity and sexuality. Miss Quigley often made comments deriding people who engaged in premarital sex, knowing that some members of the cast did not share her views. Miss Quigley also had a party trick in which she would stimulate oral sex on a banana in front of the rest of the dance cast. These instances were always unprompted and made plaintiffs uncomfortable. Here's the thing. I grew up in Christianity. I don't see that as being in line with what this woman is preaching about. Like, why is that a party trick? And then at the same time, you're encouraging people not to have premarital sex, but you're doing a oral stimulation? Miss Quigley's sexually inappropriate behavior did not stop at faux fellatio. Despite her staunch beliefs in opposition to premarital sex, she had no problem sharing her masturbatory habits with the dance cast, often stating things to the effect, "Masturbating is against my religion, but today I had an oopsie." His quickly sexually explicit comments were so pervasive, the entire dance team knew about her sexual fantasy of having 10 penises on her face. Not a bukkake. Oh my God. Here's the thing. And I could go through, because this is the podcast, this is why I'm going through all the details. But here's the thing. I don't know if any of this is true, but I feel as if some of it might be true. There might be definitely some truth to it. Where is HR? Where is someone to say, you should not be talking about this with these folks? I don't care that it's entertainment, especially in the age of Me Too. It's like, that's not acceptable, right? It doesn't matter if it's a man or female saying it or doing it or talking about it. Because if this is true, I would be uncomfortable too. I'm like, why is she? Did she just talk about not having premarital sex and now she's talking about her party trick and her bukkake? Anyways, I'm not going to go through all of the details, but there is another instance in regards to Lizzo specifically. And look, you can find this court document on social media, online as well, because there are other instances besides the instances that you probably heard of them reporting this. I was just reading an instance on where one of the dancers accidentally rubbed up against the bus driver or something like that, and he made a comment about it, like a sexually explicit comment about it. So there are a lot of different examples that they're listing here. But here's one of the examples that you may have heard about. So on or about February 23rd of 2023, plaintiffs performed with Lizzo at a show in Amsterdam, Netherlands. After the show, Lizzo invited the dancers out with her on the town. These invitations were not unusual and attendance was not mandatory. But it was well known that the dance cast members were expected to endear themselves to Lizzo. And I know what some of you are thinking. Well, you're grown adults. You don't have to go. You can say no. But we also have to remember this is entertainment. And like I said, although with Me Too, yes, it was a movement. It shed light on the darkest parts of Hollywood. It doesn't mean that these parts of Hollywood it's not still happening. And in world of entertainment, when your boss tells you like, oh, I'm going out, if you want to elevate your career, you go out with your boss. Lizzo often mentioned that she had eyes and ears everywhere and only wanted good people with good energy around her. Those who attended after-party events Lizzo planned were often favored, selected to perform with Lizzo at shows outside of regularly scheduled tour dates, and were widely considered to enjoy greater job security. By not attending, dancers not only risked losing out on being selected for these additional shows and therefore additional income, but also risked being ostracized from the group, putting their continued employment on tour in jeopardy. So they say this in regards to what happened that night. It said, as it turns out, Lizzo had planned a night out in Amsterdam's notorious red light district. We talked about it last episode, my experience in the red light district, known for its abundance of sex theaters, sex shops, and clubs and bars where nudity is full on display. I've been through the red light district, but I've never gone to any of those shows. I should have went. Why not? I'm not going with my coworkers. Just saying. The main event of the night was a club called Banana Bar, where patrons are allowed to interact with completely nude performers. When plaintiffs expressed misgivings about the plans for the night, Shwanta, Lizzo's friend, I believe, stated that it was too late to back out because she had already sent Lizzo the head count for the evening. Again, feeling the looming pressure of job insecurity should plaintiffs abstain from attending, plaintiffs reluctantly went along for the evening. So while at Banana Bar, things quickly got out of hand. Lizzo began inviting cast members to take turns touching the new performers, catching dildos launched from performers' vaginas, and eating bananas protruding from the performers' vaginas. Lizzo then turned her attention to Miss Davis and began pressuring Miss Davis to touch the breasts of one of the nude women performing at the club. Lizzo began leading a chant, goading Miss Davis. Miss Davis said 3 times, loud enough for all to hear, "I'm good," expressing her desire not to touch the performer. The chant grew louder and more strident, demanding a visibly uncomfortable Miss Davis to engage with the performer. Miss Davis reiterated her discomfort, stating, "I'd rather not because I'm cool here in the corner." Finally, the chorus became overwhelming, and mortified Miss Davis acquiesced in an attempt to bring an end to the chants. Since then, we've had other people, Lizzo's former creative director, another dancer come out. Then we had Oscar-nominated director Sophia Nali Allison, who had started working on the Lizzo documentary. And after 2 weeks, she said because of the toxic work environment that she experienced and the lack of support, she left, and she believes everything that the dancers are saying. And when she came public, a lot of people, that witnessed what she experienced confirmed and reached out to her. Since then, now we are hearing about Lizzo's boyfriend, Mike Wright, and his ex-girlfriend took to social media just yesterday, posting a 5-minute video where she says she was in a relationship with Mike for 10 years. Apparently, there was allegedly an overlap between her relationship with Mike and Lizzo. She found text messages between Lizzo and Mike, and only thing she posted, she's like the pictures and then a throwing up emoji. So apparently there were pictures that were being exchanged. And I know what you guys are thinking. For a lot of you had strong opinions about this woman dating this man for 10 years and them not getting married. Maybe they didn't want to get married. Ever thought about that? And the other thing that a lot of people are saying is that she's just clout chasing. You guys say this all the time. And I'm not saying you guys, but people say this all the time in regards to when more and more people come out with their story. Do I think some might be clout chasing? Possibly. Or now maybe people feel like, oh, it's safe for me to tell my story because they didn't have the bravery enough, because of the first thing that people start doing is attacking the victim. I saw it with R. Kelly. I saw it with Bill Cosby. I see it with a bunch of different people where they have multiple. Bill Cosby has 60-something accusers, and you guys still think that Bill Cosby is the father that you loved. No, he's a predator. So victims especially, once they see one victim come out, now they're like, oh, now I feel safe enough to tell my story. And that's what I get from this woman telling her story about her ex, Mike Wright. And she literally says in the video, but people ignore her, she's like, I don't blame Lizzo for our breakup. I blame him. It's his responsibility. But this was my experience when they were working together, because Lizzo and Mike were working together and she was dating Mike. So that's how she met Lizzo. And she said Lizzo just never really, her vibe was like, she just wasn't feeling me. Like she wasn't interested in having a conversation with me. She just was like off-putting. Some people are like that. Who knows? Who knows why? Only to come to find out that Lizzo was coming, at least, I don't know. Lizzo coming for him. He's going for Lizzo. It looked like he was trying to up his career too. Who knows? But now she felt safe enough to share her story. And more people are coming out in regards to their own experiences with Lizzo. Lizzo has released a statement. And on her Instagram, she's enlisted Marty Singer, who handles a lot of these types of problematic situations. The last time we talked about Marty Singer, we were talking about Ricky Martin and the nephew situation. So when you hire Marty Singer, you know this situation is serious and you want it done completely, because Marty Singer provided this video footage of Ariana Davis talking glowingly about Lizzo right after this incident in Amsterdam. So he's trying to paint the picture like, oh, if she's your queen and you love her so much, why would you say those things on this video footage after this particular incident? Ariana later came out and she's like, it was just me trying to please them. I wanted to elevate my career. And that, I mean, there's a lot of smoke around Lizzo, but as I said in the last video that I did on YouTube about this, someone said in the comment section, it's interesting to see the people that love Lizzo immediately, once they hear this information, turn on her. Like our society doesn't give people grace or an opportunity to be proven innocent, because some of you have also said that you stand with Lizzo, and here's why. Because it sounds as if these are disgruntled employees that are now coming for a paycheck. Because one of the other things that they have been doing, these young ladies, they've been on this sort of media tour this week, talking to different media outlets about this case. Here I go twerking on a fence. I can see, because it also made me pause. I was just like, all these interviews right now. However, You also keep in mind these celebrities have huge PR teams. Even though Lizzo may have been quiet, doesn't mean that Lizzo's PR team wasn't behind the scenes already trying to discredit these people. Already weren't doing their own sort of media tour that wasn't just Lizzo out there saying anything. Do I believe Lizzo wrote that statement? Maybe a little bit with her PR team. But someone were criticizing Lizzo about her statement because it didn't show any sort of accountability. Because even when she mentions it, like, I've always been open about my sexuality and this and that. And when you think about it, yes, you should be fine, open with your sexuality. But at the end of the day, if they're talking about being uncomfortable with what you're presenting, you can't forget, yes, you are an artist, but you are also an employer. You also are a brand. So for me, that particular line in her statement made me go, I like you, Lizzo. But it sounds as if that maybe some of what they said in this lawsuit might have some credibility. Because no one's saying that you can't be proud of your sexuality and your fierceness and your, she also denies in her statement that she would ever weight shame anyone because of, she is weight shamed all the time on social media. But a lot of you also pointed out, those be the ones, self-hating ones that will unleash that same sort of behavior on other people. I'm not saying that's what Lizzo did, but I'm also under the understanding that not everyone that's been abused tries to change the narrative. A lot of times abused folks become abusers. People that were bullied become bullies. Not saying that's happening with Lizzo, but I also understand not everything happens in that formula of, I was bullied, so now I'm going to rescue every bully. Or I'm going to, fight every bully. Just saying. Anyway, so this Lizzo situation is far from over. I do believe that this will turn out to be a settlement. And some people are saying that was what they want. They want to bring this lawsuit and then get a nice little payday. If that is the case, karma gonna get you, girl. Look, because I believe life is all about intention. So if your intention is to mar someone's name just so that you can get a little cash that will last you maybe for a hot second, that karma will follow you. That's like blood money. If that is what is happening here. But I said this before in regards to the Lizzo situation. Lizzo, if there's any sort of truth to the allegations that are listed in this lawsuit, you have a lot that you need to clean up, because all it takes is something like this to ruin your career forever, especially as Black creators. They're waiting on something like this in order to be like, oh, see, and to cancel you. Because although cancel culture doesn't work for the other folk, it seemed to work for Black folk because everything is taken away. I will hold out judgment, but when you start seeing more and more people come out, it makes you pause. You're like, wait a minute. But we shall see. We shall see. I will give you guys updates. Be sure to follow us on YouTube in regards to this case. We will be giving you updates as needed. I did see that there was a new update in regards to the Jonathan Majors situation. We've been following the actor Jonathan Majors situation, his criminal case. I don't believe that whole Megan Good relationship. I believe, again, that is PR. And Megan, the fact that you even signed up to do it makes me look at you sideways. Like, girl, what? Really? Sidebar. I saw one of the reporters that have been following this case on social media said that they're delayed the case because prosecution are still trying to formulate their story and part of their case. And part of the reason why they can't finish formulating their case is because Jonathan Majors' ex-girlfriend, the one that, made the police report, is out the country. Like they can't find her because she's scared of being charged for assault. This situation is a mess. But we also remember Rolling Stones, I believe it came out with that 40-person interview that they did. They did a 3-month-long investigation on Jonathan Majors, and those people had some shocking things to say about him too. One of the things that in Mike Wright, Lizzo's boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, said in the video, she was talking about how just be kind to people. It really is an easy thing to do. Just be kind. Look, everyone has a day. I'm moody. I'm sure you're moody. Not everyone is in the mood. Okay? I've heard so many countless stories about Nene being rude, allegedly, to fans for years. But one of the things that I wanted to mention, and it's a great way to end this, because we lost a couple of legends. We lost Tony Bennett. He was like 90-something years old. He lived a full life. We lost Pee Wee Herman. And we also lost Angus Cloud from Euphoria. Oh, that was a really sad, 25 years old. But we also lost legend Pee Wee Herman, who had a 6-year private battle with cancer. But then I recently saw David Hasselhoff and Jack A. Harry had posted stories about Pee Wee Herman on Paul Rubens on their social media. And they talked about how kind he was and all the nice, generous things that he had done. And when I say generous, I'm not talking about, oh, he bought stuff. Like, generous of spirit. And it's just like, we don't celebrate and we don't talk enough about the kindness of these individuals while they're here. And yes, there are plenty of nasty people behind the scenes, especially in Hollywood. But to hear these sweet things, when you hear this Lizzo situation and then you hear about how kind Paul Rubens was behind the scenes, it says more about, if a person's nasty behind the scenes, and I'm not saying that is true for Lizzo, but if a person's nasty behind the scenes, and I've said this when I used to work in corporate America, is that people that are nasty in the office are nasty because they're unhappy at home. Like they're unhappy with their lives. And they need to work on that. Therapy works. But rest in peace to Paul Rubens, Angus Cloud, and of course to Tony Bennett. Guys, as always, don't forget to rate and review our podcast. It does matter. We're trying to get to 500 reviews on Apple Music, 500 reviews on Spotify, or wherever you watch or listen to our podcast. We appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for listening. And thanks, of course, for watching.